Hey guys, how's it going, and welcome back for another Total War video with the Terminator. From the original Shogun to the highly anticipated Warhammer 3, there is no doubt in my mind that the Total War franchise is one of the best out there, giving strategy players unique and diverse ways to conquer the world while also providing a highly immersive battle experience. But there is arguably one Total War that is the most underrated, a game that did so many things so well but was largely swept under the rug, and that is Attila Total War. Now before I continue, I have to of course acknowledge that its success was largely derailed by optimization issues that unfortunately never got fixed. Some PCs could run it well, but many PCs simply couldn't get past 30 FPS, and to this day it is one thing that everyone remembers when Attila is mentioned. But regardless of that one setback, it was a brilliant Total War game that deserved a lot more credit than it got, and in this video I'm gonna run through exactly why. Up until Attila, every Total War game had a very similar formula. Take control of a faction, and depending on its strengths, start position, and a few other minor factors, expand out to wage total war and conquer the known world. Simple, yet so enjoyable, especially with mechanics like the Crusades in Medieval 2 or the brilliant tech and naval systems in Empire thrown into the mix. You could happily start expanding out in turn 1, build a few more armies along the way, and possibly even reach a short victory in 20 to 30 turns. But Attila was different, and it absolutely was not a reskinned Rome 2. You could start expanding out and doing your thing if you wanted, but there was a deep sense of impending doom as the years drew closer and closer to Attila coming of age. This feeling meant that you were no longer expanding out to become the best faction and win your campaign objectives, you were expanding out to survive the coming terror. Or in the case of the Western or Eastern Roman empires, you weren't expanding at all. You were merely trying to hold on to as much as possible. With vast borders, your armies stretched thin, and family politics derailing progress, the overwhelming feeling of not being in control was something I'd personally never truly experienced in a Total War until I played Attila. And that is, first and foremost, what makes Attila so unique in the series. It was survival Total War, coupled with moments of real fear for your empire. For the first time in a Total War game, you were not in control. Even in Warhammer 2 with the Chaos Invasion, you still have a pretty decent chance of preparing yourself and defeating them whichever faction you play. But in Attila with the Huns, things get truly desperate. I remember my first time playing Attila as the Caledonians and humbly trying to play it the way I usually play, expanding out into Europe, building my buildings and my armies, but then I caught sight of the first razed city and I felt a bit bewildered and curious. But the real horror was sending out an agent to find 5 other nearby settlements totally wrecked and razed in the path of Hunnic destruction. It was a terrifying feeling. Life in Total War suddenly wasn't so simple anymore. You couldn't just conquer away and forget about what buildings to build or recruit templated armies. Every decision made had to lead you towards successfully defending your borders and defeating the Huns. This was essentially CA's first attempt at a proper late-game mechanic that kept things interesting. I mean, Rome 2 had the Civil War, and while some liked it, most shrugged it off as an inconvenience. After all, it was annoying to see your generals and provinces defect. But with Attila, the late game actually felt real, historic, authentic, and menacing. It wasn't in your control. It's not like in Rome 2 where if you play your political cards right, you can avoid the late game experience. This was you building your empire and the game throwing at you the ultimate historic challenge, surviving Attila's hordes. Since then, we've had the Viking invasions of Thrones of Britannia, which to me was a bit weak and too late in the game, and of course we've had the Chaos invasions of the Warhammers, which were decent, but again, easy to prepare for and defeat. Attila is the only game, in my opinion, so far that got this truly right. The other thing that Attila got right, which CA screwed up with Rome 2, was the inclusion of some gameplay mechanics that made the game really shine. We had the food system, the climate system, the governor system, brilliant battle maps, the war wariness mechanic in Charlemagne, migrations, the raising of settlements. All of these and much more meant that for the first time in a while, we had a Total War game that had a lot more depth and immersion. The AI as well is a lot better in both battle and campaign modes versus Rome 2, for example. You can experience some serious challenges whatever faction you play, though I do recommend you leave the Western Roman Empire on the shelf until you've got a bit more experience in your belt. You didn't have to just worry about the Huns at your doorstep, but whether you were producing enough food or that your governors were loyal to you. War wariness in Charlemagne alone made the DLC just a joy to experience because it innovated. It was new and different and made the game more authentic. This is what Total War games largely have lacked. That extra little bit that makes you need to make the tough decisions that could mean the difference between victory or defeat. This section in the video compared to the other two is a bit more minor, but still worth mentioning because with Rome 2, Creative Assembly really did screw up. Even to this day, Rome 2 Vanilla is still more bland and depthless than Attila, despite the years of support it got. But with Attila, it's like they wanted to redeem themselves, use a setting that is captivating, and introduce the mechanics we were dying for in Rome 2, as well as experiment with new mechanics that ended up being a breath of fresh air that did wonders for the game. Finally, we have to talk about the additional content that comes with the Attila package. The game has 8 DLCs, including the Age of Charlemagne and the Last Roman, which in their own rights are criminally underrated, but also some really unique culture packs like the Slavic nations and the Viking forefathers, which were very cool experiences as well. Whatever you read out there about these DLCs, forget about it. Go experience them on your own and come to your own conclusions. And remember, the whole point of Attila is survival and desperation. You're not meant to suddenly thrive from the get-go. You are thrown in the deep end and will struggle to find your place in the world, to balance food supply, public order, and diplomatic relations, to get to that sweet spot of fending off your enemies while maintaining your empire and just about beginning to edge forward. Both Age of Charlemagne and The Last Roman are fabulous DLCs I highly recommend, especially if you regularly play Total War games in the higher difficulty settings. Especially in Charlemagne, where food is scarce, the AI is actually impressive, and there's a bit more unit diversity versus the base game. Attila also has some of the most brilliant and underrated mods to be made for a Total War. If you want to try a medieval experience that is the closest thing we have to Medieval 3 right now, then Medieval Kingdoms 1212 AD is your answer. The use of Attila's dark atmosphere, the brilliant unit and faction diversity, the campaigns with fantastic depth, and the unlocked building slots and more all make for a seriously awesome mod. And I really mean it when I say this is pretty much Medieval 3 right now. There are also some really unique and brilliant overhaul mods you have to try, including Rise of Mordor, which is the Lord of the Rings focused mod and arguably one if not the best of its kind. Or maybe you just want to try a different time period or with different factions. Ancient Empires dials the start date back to 202 BC, just before the end of the Second Punic War. Or maybe give Terminus a try, a mod that divvies up the Roman empires into smaller factions and completely overhauls the game with rebalancing, new units, and more. Finally, it's worth mentioning that as with every Total War game, Attila does come with a few annoying bits that mods do a really good job of fixing. Unit diversity can be an issue, food is really difficult to produce and is not shared between provinces, and while the family trees and governors are nice to have, they can get tedious. All of these things can be resolved with mods. Specific mods like Fertility +1, Unlimited Governors, or the rebalancing mods like Radius or Fall of the Eagles can go a long way to perfecting your Attila experience, so have a look around the workshop and try some out. Attila, for all of these reasons, is seriously underrated. When the game first came out, most people complained about the weird survival gameplay, the super challenging mechanics, and boring time period, but I don't think they gave the game a proper chance, and I don't think they appreciated what the game was trying to do that set itself so far apart from any other Total War before it. If you're looking for a new Total War to try and haven't played Attila yet, I can't recommend it enough. and I hope this video gives you a glimpse into why you should give it a shot. That's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, give it a like and drop any thoughts or questions in the comments section below. What do you think of Attila Total War? Don't forget to subscribe for more Total War content, gameplay, and news, and thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.